Welcome back to the Rochester Real Estate Show. Jason Mancuso, joined today,
Tom Fox?
Tom Fox,
Yes.
listing director for the Anthony Butera team here at
Yeah.
Keller Williams
Yes.
Realty.
Yes. Thank you.
Um, you know, picked a topic today that really applies to where you spend most of your time in the business,
Right.
on the listing side, working with sellers, and really wanted to, I guess this will kind of benefit agents as well, but really more so attacking from the side of like, here's what a listing appointment
Looks like.
the jargon that we use, right?
Yeah. Right.
Is, really a consultation with a seller in order to get ready and analyze what's needed to get them to their next destination, so to speak. Like what should that appointment feel like? What should be taking place, right? Like what are the proper things to do, during a listing appointment as an agent, and
Yeah.
how it should feel and look like, and why you should care as a seller.
Well, I mean, you get one shot at it, right? So you got to make sure you're doing the right things. I think that part of the things that we want to keep in mind is you want to uh, don't make it transactional.
Yeah.
You want it to be, a partnership. You want to really understand what they need.
Yeah.
So I always say, real simply, I said, hey, listen, first things first, get there on time.
Sure.
There's
Right.
there's nothing worse than having somebody, saying, hey, you're 15 minutes late and you're off on the wrong foot already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get there on time. What I like to do is I like to go into a house and put my bag down and talk to them and say, listen, show me around the house.
We're really getting to know the house, the property, the
That's important.
situation,
That's
right?
important
Yeah.
because when I get to what we discuss, it's important to understand what you're looking at in the house. So I go through the house top to bottom, and I'm taking mental note. What am I seeing? Am I seeing a lot of clutter here? Am I seeing dings on doors? Am I seeing mold? Am I seeing, hey, what's the age of your furnace, your hot water tank, your roof? The big three that people always want to know.
Hmm.
Trying to understand what's going on with this house, right, from top to bottom.
Right.
So that's kind of like the first things that we do.
Right. So really, before we get into the what happens at the appointment itself and what you're
Sure,
describing, what you're looking at, I mean, really, like this is not necessarily a sales pitch,
it's not.
right? This is like we're diagnosing.
You're
Uh,
diagnosing, you're helping achieve a goal, and obviously they have their goals, and that's why it's important to really sit down with them after you go through the house. Really sit down with them and ask them questions.
yeah,
What are you trying to do here?
right. So
Uh,
even like you go
right.
through the house and then you're sitting down. It's not just like 300,000. That's it. There's your number. Like
So
you gotta
don't be too
get the
quick.
details.
Do not be too quick to just blurt out numbers, and do not waver on your numbers. Because then they can see that you really haven't done your research the way you're supposed to do your research. Okay, so before I even get to the numbers, like I said, we've seen the house, right? We sit down, and my first questions is let's analyze what you need from me. How can I be helpful to you?
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we trying to do? We're going to sell the house. Okay, what's the time frame we're trying to sell the house in? Are we looking for another house? If you're looking for another house, what are your plans to do? What is your time frame for those types of things? Are you willing to do things in the house if we decided we want to try to get the top dollar for the house based on what I saw? Sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes I'm like, hey, gently help them understand that these things need to be done to get the top dollar you're looking to acquire, right?
If that's the goal.
That's the goal. You know,
If it is, right? Because
well,
like
whatever
part
the
of
goal
this
is
is
what you want to get to that.
well, and it's a matter of like, the way I treat it is our first objective is to figure out what the goals are, what the needs are, what the wants
100%.
are, right? And from
100%.
there, then we can tailor a strategy that fits that outcome that they're looking to achieve.
100%.
Because like dinged up doors, fresh paint, like yeah,
Yeah.
it may be easy enough to
Pet
say
smell,
you should
whatever.
be
Yeah,
fixing these things, but
sure.
if it doesn't align with what needs to happen on their end, it's all situational.
Yeah. And Jay, before I discuss price or comps or anything, I mean, it could be 15, 20 minutes. I mean, I don't put a time limit on it, of
Yeah,
course, but I take my time to understand those things because until you understand what they're trying to achieve, it doesn't make sense to get into the other things yet.
I love it. I want to go back
Yeah.
to like the tour that you're taking when
Yeah.
usually when you start off, right?
So can I say something too? This is important.
Yeah.
The tour.
Hmm.
I've gone on tours with people before, and the first thing people want to do is they want to be over complimentary of the house.
Okay.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
You're saying on the agent side of it.
Yeah, when the agent
Okay.
they're going through the house, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's a gorgeous kitchen, and it's from 1975." I mean, don't lie to people.
Okay.
You don't want to be mean or insensitive,
Yeah.
but you do. I've seen. I'm like, and I've like, I wanted like, hey, what are you doing? And don't
Right.
say that because now we're telling them that's okay and that's going to get you the top dollar you're looking for. When technically that's really not because when you go through comps and you're showing pictures and you're doing comparables to what that kitchen looks like versus your kitchen, you've already said that's an awesome kitchen when technically it's
Yeah.
really not an awesome kitchen. So
Sure.
you've painted yourself into that corner, if you will.
It's just, again, we're not here to pitch. We're not here to BS you, right? We're not here to
No,
fluff your ego and
we have to be open
yeah.
and honest, and you have to listen. If you're genuinely trying to help somebody achieve their goal, that's why I always tell people: be genuine. Try to go to the appointment saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to do the best I can to help them achieve their goal, give them the most money, help them have the smoothest process, be helpful to all the people I can suggest to help them on other parts of the process to be smooth as well."
Mhm.
And then I think you got it covered. If you're going in saying, listen, I want to get this sale because I want to go on that trip in 6 weeks and I want to make sure I got
Yeah.
this sale in, that's the wrong attitude.
Commission breath is pretty easy to smell.
It's just not the
Yeah.
right way to go through it. And plus, I don't like to do business that way. I want to genuinely help people.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things I've seen with how you go about the process and still on this like touring the home
Yeah.
topic, but like
Yeah.
you're doing it from the perspective of potential buyers,
Yeah.
right? Or a buyer's agent,
Well,
right? So it's like here's what a buyer is going to look at. Here's what a buyer's agent is going to advise their clients on
100%.
pertaining to your home.
So
Here's the top.
within the first 90 seconds,
Yeah.
you should be able to show them what a buyer, what a buyer is going to be looking for.
Yeah.
Now, granted, most agents, most all of us agents are showing houses and doing listings at the same time, which that's a great way of having our business go, right? So you want to come at it with an eye from the buyer. And then, but also tell when you're going through the seller, tell them, say, listen, let's look at it from when, here's a good example. If they're going to go and try to find a house and needed to find a house, so we're going to have that same eye that their eyes are going to be on your house.
Yeah.
So you have to, really help them understand. Listen, they're not going to like this here. They're not going to like that there. Or hey, we need to make this room a little bit bigger to take that chair that a dog destroyed. Maybe that comes out and goes in the garage.
Mhm.
And you just help them say, this is what buyers are going to be looking for. And they usually they get that for the most part. I mean, I don't really have too many people who don't understand you trying to help them stage your house the way it's supposed to be staged. Now, I will tell you this. I always start out the conversation. Picture day is the most important day of the process. Everything we do, whether we're buying a sweater, we're buying a car, whether whatever it is, even when you're searching for vacations, if the pictures don't look good, you don't want to be involved with it.
Right.
So pictures have to be perfect.
Yep.
So, for agents out
So
there
you're
who are like,
kind of like visualizing, like as you're touring, you're visualizing what you want to
yes, of
advise
course you do.
on to
Every
get ready
single
for
room.
picture day, right?
And listen, we have a pamphlet, and obviously you've seen that pamphlet before. That pamphlet basically says, hey, it gives you pictures on, decluttering, making the room. And I always tell people, let's make the room look as big as possible and pristine as possible. And if we can do that with every single room, and people can go from top to bottom, right to your basement, and not complain about anything,
Yeah.
generally their pocketbooks are going to be opened up and they're going to want to buy your
Yeah.
house.
Oh, that's how the market's operating right now, right?
That's how the market's
Here's how
operating.
I like another element of how I like to think about it is, and really, if you're a potential, if you've sold a home and your agent didn't approach it this way, or if you're interviewing an agent and they're not approaching it this way, like be concerned of the pitch type of aspect going on, right? But I
Mhm.
want to point out, like, here's what's going to give us negative feedback. Here's what, when we go searching for, like, hey, why isn't your buyer interested? Right. Or we have the ability to, to send a form that right after a showing, right, where it's like all agents do through the system that we use
Right,
to schedule showings. But it's a
right.
matter of like, I want to tee sellers up as to what that feedback form is going to tell them. Right. And
It's,
here's what we're going to get in terms of what's
but
not
Jason,
great about the
but
house.
so when I go through the house, I kind of tell them, listen, I'm going to help you understand things I think we need to do because these will be objections from buyers. Listen, buyers' jobs and buyers' agents' jobs is trying to knock down the value of the house so they can get a better price on your house. Our job is to meet those objections before they happen to make sure that they can't do that.
Yeah, I like
That
that.
that's what we do.
Mhm. And
And
wherever possible, because there's,
oh,
like we
listen,
said,
listen.
there's some circumstances where it's just like, yep, we're gonna get negative feedback, and it is
You're
what it
gonna
is, and we
yeah.
gotta go.
Sometimes you
Yeah,
can't help it. That room is that room.
yeah,
But I do the very best I can to try to mitigate that, and honestly try to in our write up make sure we in our disclosures make sure everything is done the right way to cut that off at the pass. So nobody says, "Well, I didn't know about this," or you know, and it hurts you in the long run because you weren't honest about something.
yeah.
You know,
Well, and I think it's just you talk about honesty, right, and
yeah.
integrity. When you're not having a discussion around, here's what's going to, you know, here's what's going to come up.
So
Here's
Jason,
what's going to a big part of what we do
hundred
to
percent.
provide a great
Yep.
experience. We got to tell you everything that's going to happen next,
So let me.
predictively as much as
So this
possible.
is
Even if we end up being wrong, but like this is a
yeah,
possibility of what we're going to run into, and I got to
very,
make you aware in the
very,
process.
very important to not say things that aren't going to happen. I try to be as honest as I can on pricing. I try to be honest as I can on the strategy. I try to be honest as I can when we go to list the property. Because here's what you don't want. You don't want to promise something to try to get a listing, and then everything all goes to hell in a handbasket, and you look like you look like a schmuck from lots of different angles. From their angle, and if things didn't go the way you told them they're going to go. If I know things aren't going to go the way they need to go, I'm going to be open and honest and as delicately as possible, I'll let them know that, hey, listen, this is what I think we're up against.
Yeah,
And it's important to do that because I'd rather, deliver more, than what I promised.
love it. All right, so let's talk pricing and strategy for a little bit here.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the way I'm thinking about this is just like it's
And
not
it's
just
been
a
a roller
number.
coaster lately.
Well,
I mean,
and
since like November, it's been a roller coaster because I don't know. I mean, I've noticed it. I mean, you help us supply the data in our meetings, so we have the benefit of that. But
yeah, and I think that's part of the discussion here, and part of
yeah,
the discussion that has to be playing out, at the dining room table or kitchen
sure.
table, right,
Yep.
between an agent and a seller. Is like, here's what's going on in the market. Here's the data that we need to be looking at.
Right.
Here's the specific data in this neighborhood,
Yep.
right? And it's that leads to then options to consider, right? It's not just, like we started off earlier, where it's just like, okay, great house, 300,000 of this, right?
Not the
Like
right approach.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Right.
not just
Yeah.
a, one size fits all type of thing when
It's
it
not.
comes to listing homes for sale. And it's really got to be taken into consider. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration, but I guess, on the agent side of it, and this is where like, sellers hearing this, you got to make sure that you're being asked these questions, right?
Right.
Because if you're not being asked just, about all things, prior to getting to a price and
Right.
a strategy recommendation, like
Right.
that agent doesn't know that the strategy can actually work.
Right.
For example, if you're, and we'll get into more, but if you're doing a, that delayed negotiation, let's just bluntly put, we're going to price it lower to drive the activity,
Correct.
to get multiple
Yep.
offers, to give you a bidding war, to, essentially position
Right.
it
Right.
as the top end of the
But
market.
so that's great. But I also go over the contingency plan if that doesn't work.
Well, so yes, but
Yeah.
here's my point
Right.
is that if you as an agent haven't found out that, well, I work at home from 10 to 7 p.m. every day and I can't leave the house. Well, now we can't get the activity needed to create that video.
Correct. So
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 it's an all encompassing, like you got to have the entire situation
true.
known before you can recommend a
Right.
price.
Right. 100. That's why that conversation in the beginning
Exactly.
is huge.
Exactly.
And a lot of times before I even go to the house, if I'm talking to them on the phone or if there's a friend or whoever they call me, I'll try to ask them some questions around their thought process on what were you thinking on pricing? Like, if they had an idea or just try to feel them out a little bit about their house because sometimes they'll tell you things so you can be prepared a little bit better before you go there. So like sometimes you ask them just casual questions and you'll get some more information to be better prepared for that meeting.
Yeah.
Now, and by the way, you don't always get it, but sometimes you get it. And
Well, I
when you
think
get it, it's helpful.
there's value in
Yeah.
terms of, and everything that you can as much as you can find
Yeah.
out prior to walking in their door, and
Right.
like wanting to be in a position where you can walk out of it working with them,
Yep.
right? Like
Yep.
it's very helpful when you have, more information to prepare you for that appointment,
Yeah.
right?
And that and
Um,
they being listen, being prepared for that appointment is very important.
for sure.
You know what I mean?
So being prepared also allows you to, make the proper recommendations for strategy. Once you've seen what the house is, once you know
Yeah.
what it is. I mean, we oftentimes like, we'll not just want to fire from the hip if we can't, right? And
Uh-huh.
like especially if we're at a kitchen table and it's just like, listen, like I gotta get back to the drawing board. This one's a little tricky.
Mhm.
Like
Well, and it's
I
but that's
want the
okay.
opportunity to do that
So that's
versus like
okay.
just being on the spot to
Jason, I've
pull
walked
a
in
number, right?
yeah, I've walked into houses where it's not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
The information wasn't what I thought it was. Sometimes you got to call a time out and say, listen, you know what? There's some other factors of this house. I didn't realize there was an extra partial of this or a partial of that or mineral rights. I mean, you never know what you're going to encounter, right? So if that's the case, it's okay to say, listen, you know what? I have some decent information, but let me go back and really dissect the other information. The new information has come to me, and I'll get back with you guys. We'll make sure
Yeah.
we have the right information for the right strategy going forward. Because because some people just they feel like, okay, I got to give everything to you now, but like I said, if you don't have everything that you need, it's okay to say, listen, let me get back to you. I don't have everything we're looking for. I
Yeah.
didn't know you had a guest house in the back. That's not on the
Yeah.
the real list or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just got to know.
Yeah. 100%. I think generally speaking, just to like, yeah, I mean, it's February 2026 right now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Cool as hell.
we're dealing, and it's likely to be another strong sellers market throughout 2026,
Mhm.
where what we've experienced in the last few years doesn't alter too much, right? Like right now, market of the moment is we're that much more stricken on inventory and
Mhm.
creates that much more of a extreme sense of sellers market conditions,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
for paraphrasing sake, like it's like right now we're throughout 2025 we were able to kind of get to a point where it felt like, man, this thing's only down to a few offers on each competitive situation, and
And
now it's back up to like 20
yep. Yep.
because there's so much less inventory is what the
It's
data
not a lot.
shows.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
uh,
inventory out there right now.
so with that said, I mean, when you I think there's really 3 to 4 things that need to be considered with any house, and then therefore what the strategy should be around selling it.
Mhm.
Location being one of them,
Mhm.
right? And real estate rule of thumb: location, location, location. If you've
Correct.
got a hot neighborhood or a hot town, or, just like for our market locally, like Monroe County
Mhm.
is different than, you know, Livingston County and
Wayne or
Orleans
yeah.
and Genesee, et
Yeah.
cetera,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
From a demand level, and then even within Monroe County, like if you get on the outskirts of it, that's different than, the density and the demand in Greece, for example, or Brighton or whatever, right?
Yep. Yep.
So just knowing the location that you're in and knowing the different demand levels that come with it is important.
Yeah, because that sets the whole strategy. Because you know what, depending on the location you're in, it might not be, a delayed negotiation. It might just
Exactly.
be, it might be group showings. I mean,
You may not
it,
have
it,
the ability
it just
to
depends.
pull out the max result that,
Yeah.
everybody's so like hot to get on the seller
But
side,
but
right?
you made a mention like earlier. I want to get back to this because we're kind of talking a little bit about it now. You said, well, okay, that seller who works from home. Listen, we all work from home, right? Not we shouldn't say all of us, but a lot of us work from home. He's there from 10 to 7. So your whole strategy has to change. Like
Yeah,
you went there in your
100%.
mind thinking, okay, I'm going to do delayed negotiations. Now you're like, all right, well, that's not going to work. So and I see this a lot. You say, okay, we're going to do a group showing, which is basically like an open house. We're going to do it Tuesday
Yeah.
from 5 to 7, or whatever the case may be. Is you
But you
have
got
to
to
be
adapt.
you have to adapt
Yeah.
because you also want to make sure you take into consideration that the seller, that's hey, this is his livelihood, this is what they're going to do, and they don't have the ability to do it differently. So how do you get around that and still get the best exposure you possibly can?
Well, and I think ultimately, you know, everybody's looking for the best result possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And no matter what it is, like you're being hired as an agent to
Hmm.
produce the best result possible. Period.
And
in one sense of it anyway.
and
Right?
part of that conversation that we talk about too is, you know, everybody wants to take advantage of what's happened because, these buyers, they hear of their cousins, their neighbors, their, their brothers or sisters, whatever, hey, well, he sold his house for 75, 80 grand
Yeah,
over
yeah.
ask. And
Yep.
so it's so important to have that conversation because if we really think that, hey, maybe, what, we're not in the market right now that that's going to happen, or hey, you're not in the area, we don't think that's going to happen, or your house is not in the condition it needs to be to make that happen.
Right.
You have to have those honest conversations. Say, listen, I understand that. However, and then give them the facts on, and like I said, politely, nicely, educationally explain to them why
Yeah.
this is where we're
Well,
at, why this is different than this, right?
and ultimately the factors at play as to why it could be different, right? We mentioned location,
Right.
you mentioned condition, and we've talked about it,
Yep.
throughout.
Yep.
But like if there's just right now the market is seeing the best results,
Yep.
right? The crazy extreme conditions
Yeah.
with properties that are an 8 or a 9 or a 10 out of 10,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
when back to the example of the 1970 kitchen, like you may not, no matter what, you may not be able to see the max top end of the market. Obviously, buyers are not dumb. They know they're buying a kitchen from
So
1970 that
so
if
that's
they don't sell, if they don't upgrade it and
yeah.
they go to sell,
So
they're going to have that much more of a problem.
this is why, and I don't know, Jason. Listen, I went on. I don't know how many appointments I went on with you when I was just learning stuff with you and Anthony, right? And when you're walking through the property, they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask, well, what do you think about this? We want to do this, and we want to do that. And let's say that 1970s kitchen, you're like, is that really a big deal? And I'm like, well, kitchens and bathrooms generally are people's, bright spots in the house. That's where they want their house to shine. Now, a 1970s kitchen is not going to shine. So be prepared to have
Yeah.
people in your head, in your Rolodex to say, you know what, well, hey, listen, if you're interested, we can see if I can get a painter here to give you nuts.
Yeah.
Maybe just paint the cabinets, change the hardware on there.
Yep.
Just do simple stuff to
Well,
jazz it up to maybe takes you from a 5 out of 10 to maybe a 7.
and I think that
Right.
becomes even more relevant as the market evolves.
Yeah. Right.
Like we've
Yeah.
we've got this dynamic right now where we're so short on supply that any house,
Yeah.
if it's priced according to what it is,
Right.
it will sell eventually,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Bluntly put, when there's a shift in market and it's extreme buyer's market,
Yeah.
that's not the case because now it's like there's fewer buyers, there's 10 options for them to choose from at any given time,
Right.
scale wise compared to now, and it's even more than that, right? It's
Yeah.
like I don't need to buy your house. There's 100 others that are better that I'm
Yeah.
gonna, take dibs over first. So now it's like now the process shifts where it's like, look at in order for you to sell this house for anything that's a respectable number that you would want,
Mhm.
you need to
So
get these upgrades
so
done.
let me
We're just not in that market locally.
so we talked about that.
Mhm.
But the other important piece is let's talk comps for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do the very, very best I can to try to put as much data out there as possible. Because the more data you lay in front of them, the harder it is for them to object on what your goal, or not your goal, but like your thought process would be
Yeah.
on the price.
Well, you're providing
Right.
the evidence.
So what I'll do, and maybe this is a little unorthodox or not, but like let's say it's a 3 bedroom house, right? And let's say it's 1,500 square feet. Sometimes I'll look at a 4 bedroom house and 1,800 square feet. It's in a very close proximity in a similar house, just to show them, hey, even the house that was 4 bedrooms in 1,800, 400 square feet bigger than yours with an extra bathroom or whatever, just to show them
Right.
that, hey, this house didn't even sell for the price that maybe you thought you might want to list the
Yeah.
house for.
Well,
It gives perspective.
yeah. And on the data side of
Right,
things,
right.
like sometimes you have to dig deep, right? It's one thing if you could just walk into any home where you have 10 examples that are apples to apples or close to it. Like that's great, but that's
Jason,
usually not the case, right? So it's
listen,
like, hey, this is like I know this isn't exactly your home,
yep,
but we can use it as a comparable
yep.
and kind of correlate a strategy to it based on.
The only place that, I can't even say you can't do this all the time, but the only places that you get those are in condos and townhouses in those communities,
Right.
because a lot of those are two bedroom, 1,400 square
Yep.
feet in the same layout. Yeah, then you can give like exact
Yeah.
this house,
Well,
this house.
there's just also,
But that doesn't happen very often.
and at least locally in our market conditions
Yeah,
lately,
yeah,
right? Like even when you have some of the bigger developments like that,
yeah.
there's still not enough data or enough of it that you would want, right? Because
Right.
it's like if you could have five, let's just say, close by, like same neighborhood, similar square
Huge,
footage,
huge,
same number of bedrooms and bathrooms,
huge,
right?
huge.
Similar condition.
Yep.
If you got that many, like you really, here's your story.
Yeah.
Like ideally, you can get three. I guess is kind of a general. Like that's
Yeah.
what appraisals will work
I
off
mean,
of, right?
yeah, I would say that. And you know what, too, is you're always going to get that customer that says, well, down the street there on 475,
Yeah.
they got 450,000 for
Right.
their house. I'm like, oh, okay, but that was a ranch.
Right.
Here's is a split level. So like you have to show people. And then here's another important piece of it. This is something that I think is very important. Okay. When I go through and I lay out my 5 or 6 comps, okay, we'll talk about them. Let them, I pass it through so they can see it. I have pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures are important because if they'd have said, well, the house down the street sold for this amount of money, and it is a similar comp, and it sold for a lot more money than what you're thinking this house is going to sell. I'm trying to help them understand, yeah, but that has a brand new kitchen. That has all new hardwood flooring. That's got all new light fixtures. And if they could see the pictures and they can understand, oh man, you're right, man. You know what? Jesus, ours got the 1970s kitchen. They got the white cabinetry and they got the farm sink. They got all these updated things. So you're just trying to help them understand. Do you see what I'm talking about now? They're like, yeah, man, that makes sense. Because pictures, visual helps them understand based on what their neighbor told them that they got for the house.
Sure.
If you don't bring pictures and all you bring is pricing, it's hard for them to visualize. Well, that doesn't make sense. They got this.
Right.
But if you're showing them this is why they got this,
Yeah.
that's very
Well,
helpful.
on the agent side of it, if you're not like you want to tell the story, not to win, right, or anything
To
like
be
that,
helpful.
just to be help, yeah, to help to get you to under,
Yeah.
because we come in with like all this confidence around, what we're doing because we are confident, right?
Yeah.
Which is great, but it's just if we can't tell the story and be relatable to a seller,
Yeah.
it's a problem.
You have to. And the thing is going through that, and you know how I do it, Jason. I also bring comps. Did I see that? Not comps, but I also go through the Realtor, the Redfin, and the Zillow. And you're like, I know that's not real pricing. I get that. But you know what? In their mind, that's what they see. That's what they have access to. So I
Yeah, so you're
always,
talking about like what's listed on these public websites that
yes,
just pin a estimated
but
value
I,
to
I,
it.
I
Yeah,
go through that not because that's the real numbers I'm looking for. I want them to know that, hey, I know what you see.
yeah,
This is what you see, and I'm telling you I see what you see. However, these are real data.
yeah.
This is real by what it listed for, what it's sold for, what it listed for, what it's sold for. So now all I'm trying to do is draw the correlation
Yeah.
to say, hey, this is the pricing that where we should be because now one, I've shown you pictures. I've shown you 7 comps where they listed here and they ended here. And then I'll re-go over it and I pass it and I make sure that the husband and wife or the husband or just a wife or whatever it is, the family, they're looking at it. They see it and then we're talking about it.
Well, and there's
You know what I mean?
um, there's just this day and age of technology and AI and all this, right?
Yeah.
Like there's, big kind of talking point in the industry right now of using AI tools to just do your research for comping properties out. My thing is like, don't get me wrong, like it's there. You can use it as reference and it's good to get that sort of insight
Yeah.
to add to your, like my thing is like, we are practitioners of real estate and we need to get our hands on the individualized, like we have hand selected these comparable properties out for a reason.
Hmm.
And we're here to tell you the story why. Like
Yes.
you don't need us to tell you what the AI tool told it knows. Like I get what you're saying of like, hey, I'm gonna reference this. Like I know what the automated stuff out there will tell you about your home.
Just only
But
because I know that they see it.
yeah,
Right.
here's
Right. Right.
like this is what I do, and I've hand selected these for a reason, and I'm here to talk to you about them for a reason, and I'm
Yes.
here to develop a strategy with you.
Yep.
Um,
And then once you understand that. And once you've gone through the comps, once you've gone through the house, and and we have a folder we bring with us, and in that folder, I take very detailed notes on
Mhm.
everything because it's important that you can list all the great amenities that they have. And, so like if you got a roof that's been done recently, make sure you capture it. If you got a furnace that's been redone recently, or even clean and inspected, I'll even throw that out there. Hey, so it's been cleaned and inspected. Let's say it's an older one, and now you have that to make them feel a little bit better that it's 20 years old or whatever. So it's about taking the notes. It's about being prepared. It's about making sure
That's
that
the
you're able to,
attention to detail.
yeah, it's attention to
Because I
detail,
mean,
man.
at
It
the end of
is.
the day, it matters, right?
It does.
We're being hired to sell your home with all these details.
Yeah.
We gotta know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just a lot of this is it's going to come back to like, hey, if your agent isn't in this level of detail, isn't asking this many questions,
But
right?
I think a lot of us,
It's a problem.
I think, if we can approach it, like I said, I mean, I've had Steve Pennsylvania and I always say we're very blessed. We've had opportunities to be, I don't know how many appointments I've been on with you, how many appointments I've been on with Anthony Butera. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that going on appointments with you guys, right? And what I learned was I learned what I liked from you. What I liked from Anthony, what I didn't like that you did, what I didn't like Anthony
Sure.
did, and then I like what I to try to figure out what I'm doing, and then I combined them all. And what I learned in all that was just be genuine. Go there like you want to really help somebody. And I do. I want to help people. I want to do the right thing for people. I want to give them the best bang for their buck. And by the way, I don't just want to, sell the house and never speak to them again. Let them know, hey, listen, I'm going to be here for pictures. I'm going to be here to make sure that the write up is the way it needs to be. I'm going to one that's going to answer all your questions. I'm going to review all your offers for you.
Well, I think this is
Right?
the last piece
Yeah.
to kind of our list here that we've
Yeah.
prepared for this topic is to position yourself to where in a manner where you've told them everything's going to happen next.
Right. But then you got
Right.
to
And you're
execute that.
also, well, yes, execution's important for
Yeah.
sure.
Right. Right. Right.
But like they have full clarity. A seller has full clarity on what the plan is that you're going to be executing on.
100%.
Right.
And a lot of times they want to make sure that you're executing that plan.
Oh,
You're going to be the
100%.
person that's going
I
to
would
do it.
hope so.
And no, no, I know, but no,
Yeah.
but Jason, some agents they go to the appointment and you don't see the agent again. You see other people doing different things for them. They don't come to the pictures.
Yeah.
They don't review the offers with you. It's their assistant. There's all sorts of different things. See, I think you got to stay the course and make sure, because at the end of the day, I want them to say, man, this guy was informational. He called me, he let us know when we had all these things done. He explained, every aspect of it. We laid out a plan, and they're happy in the end, and they want to refer more business to you. That's what
Uh,
you want.
I'll present it this way to potential sellers or sellers out there.
Yeah.
The consumer side of it is like you should like don't feel like you can't hold that expectation, right? There's a certain level of
Yeah.
like, I mean, this, let's call it what it is. Like, we're being hired, like the seller is the boss.
Yes.
Like,
We work for them.
bosses hold, people accountable,
Yeah.
right? So
Right. Right.
it's
Right.
like going into the mindset of a seller is like, we want you to be checking in and like, well, if you're not getting updates, you should be like, hey, where's the update? What's going on? Right? Like that's okay. And it becomes our job to make sure that,
Yeah.
that's not happening because we're constantly communicating and constantly making, aware of what happens next.
Yep.
Right. But that's a
Yeah.
key piece to it.
It's huge, man. And it's they want to know that you have their back every step of the way. And I try to make sure that they understand. I mean, I'll go over even how the lockbox works, and who's going to be contacting them next, and who on our team does this, and who on our team does that, and how we're going to market your property. It's about hitting every detail, and then, like you said, once you agree on pricing, once you agree on the strategy, moving forward with that plan and making sure that they understand that what you told them you were going to do, you were going to do. You didn't create false expectations. You did exactly what you thought was reasonable that you can accomplish. And you go and you do that.
All right. So I'm going to summarize what we just talked about because we
Please do.
got excited. We were all over the place bouncing around, which is fine.
And that's what you get with
This
me.
is
You know
oh
that.
yeah, no, this is
You know
good.
that's what you get.
We've got a lot of details that
Yeah.
we threw out there and like
Yeah.
how I want sellers to consume this is
Sure.
and digest it is just
Yeah.
like this is what should be happening in a listing appointment,
Yeah.
right? This level of detail. And it shouldn't be a pitch. right? It should be more diagnostic and just, finding out all the things to start with
Yeah,
from the agent with you.
yeah,
We should be, as agents, like it should be, finding out about the home and touring the home as if you're a potential buyer and making the seller aware of like the good, bad, and the ugly as to
yep.
what buyers are going to think about the home.
Whether you want to tell them that or not,
Right.
it's important to tell them that.
Pricing should be, an overall strategic level, conversation and approach, and
Right.
not just oh, well, it looks like 300K is where you need to be, right?
Yeah.
Without any other context. There's a big part of just like we've got to find
Yeah.
a way to align to your overall life and the logistics and preferences and what needs to happen,
Right.
not just here's the best way the market acts
Mhm.
or how it reacts, I should
Mhm.
say, because it doesn't always apply, and also that there's a thorough plan that is going to be followed from there, and you're made aware of it as a seller.
That's what you got to do, man. That's what you got to do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you having me.
Tom Fox, Anthony Butera Team listing director.
And I want to say one thing real quick.
Yeah,
If there's anybody out there that I don't have it all down, I don't pretend to have it all down. I'm still learning, but I think I got it down pretty good. If anybody wants to talk to me or maybe shadow me on an appointment, I'm more than happy to do
there you
that
go.
because you know what? I think that's how we all grow and it's how we all learn from each other. And I still do that for people. So it's just, if I can be helpful, I think it's, give me a shout.
Love that. Love that.
Okay.
Jason Mancuso, as always, with the Anthony Butera Team. Thanks for tuning in to the Rochester Real Estate Show. You can find us on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Okay.
Catch you on the next one.
Stay warm. See ya.